as your stories are. Do you do any research
I do
for your books?
so much research about the most random things. I went to a Renaissance festival just so I could talk to a blacksmith this weekend, just so I could be like, okay, so what are like sort of the real world things? Because for me, it's very much like if I'm going to have someone wearing leather armor of something, then they need to have, the appropriate things. And so it's everything from like, if they're going to start making it more, then the people are going to start complaining about the smell. And if there's not a water source nearby, then their health is going to start going down. I really wanted it to be a fantasy world that is still bound by, real world commonalities. I've, done research on physics. I've made like, little sample catapults in my house to sort of see like how that would shake out. And it's like, how do you get them to the forest? And, then you have to cut them down. I've researched how long it takes to cut down and strip and treat something so that if you put the torque forces on it, would it work? I mean, yeah, I look, that's one of the things that takes me a long time. Like I'm researching every little thing and trying to make it as in keeping with reality as possible. Because I think like, anyone else that sort of loves these kind of games, we love geeking out and just like poking at it 1,000 times. And I think one of the favorite things for my fans is like if they can catch an inconsistency in my book, they're like, hey, everyone, Aleron fucked up. Check this out. And everyone, I'm like, all right, you got me, guys. I missed that one. You're right. So
yeah, the fans will always find the little things you missed. So all that prep work really pays off. Fans pointed out a lot of things that you missed.
So there have been two things that I missed. One is that he found a metal elementum, and I had already written that one of his doors was made of elementum, and they landed on me like a sumo wrestler for that one. And then something that actually someone just noticed, which I actually think is funny, and I think it's going to be, I'm going to work into the story, and I think it's going to be great, is that he got trapped underground and had to figure out how to see. And they're like, yeah, so he totally just found something that would have let him see underground. And it's like, yeah, he did, didn't he? I totally forgot that I had put that into the story. But, I'm going to work it in, and like he's going to be talking to his people, and they're going to be like, so you realize this did that thing that whole time? And he's like, all right, let's not tell anyone that happened. That's super embarrassing. But yeah, I mean, it's
presenting your writing those same moments, like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that thing I found before. Oh well.
Yeah. No, there was a big argument on the forums about how he levels up his familiar, and it's like people were going back and forth for like 3 days arguing about it, and they didn't agree with how I was doing it. And so like, in the next book, I was like, Richter was just so happy that he leveled up his familiar. It's like he just couldn't stress enough exactly how serious and perfect he thought what he had done. And if anyone disagreed with him, they were just insane. And a lot of the fans, like, sort of like that, and they poked back afterwards. And I feel like that's one of the other things that separates my story, is that I like to be very in touch with the people that are reading the story, because I feel like we're all the same. We wanted a story like this. We love that we found it. Just like you, I have a hard time reading even some of my old favorite authors that are not in this, because it's like it's not as exciting. It's not as engaging. It's a little bit more drawn out.
Yeah, I'm like, where's the status screen?
Yeah, what's going on? Why? Okay, so you fought someone, but nothing different? Okay, this is boring. Yeah, so, yeah.
Awesome. But man, all this seems like it takes such a long time to write. I think for anyone who's ever thought about writing a novel, it seems like such a daunting task. How did you finally decide to like sit down and write something? What's your process?
So, there's that old like movie, Finding Forrester with Sean Connery. And, there's that line where he's like, the first step in writing is just to write. And so I just started writing one day. I was bored. I had just spent like a day cursing because I couldn't find any new LitRPG. And I was like, oh, what the hell? And I had tried reading 1 or 2 stories, and I'm like, this is just unreadable. I can't do this. And because of that, because I was inspired by certain authors, and because I was just sort of like completely underwhelmed by authors, I very much was like, well, what do I have to lose? What's the worst that can happen? And this was before I even knew that an indie author could just publish on Amazon. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I was like, I've always kind of wanted to do this. I've been looking for something that I could pour my energy and like, fuel into, because I'd been in training for medicine for a decade, and that's basically all I did. I worked, 16 to 20 hours a day for 3 years. I mean, that's just all I did. And now that I was done and I had time, I was like, okay, let's try this. So I sat down and I just started writing. And honestly, for the first like week or two, I didn't tell anyone about it. And I would just like think about stuff and play old games. I'm like, oh, you know, it would be fire. Oh my God, I'm gonna go back. And I would totally rework what I had done. And I had an idea that I wanted magic and progression to be reasonable. And I wanted it to be as real towards life as possible. And, you know, I feel like some people are born and they can be great at the piano. And some people are born and like, maybe if they work really hard, they can kind of learn. And some people are just never going to get it. And that idea is what led me to my affinities and sort of skill system, where certain people are born with a predisposition to certain things and they'll learn it faster than other people. And that's how they determine how good they can be. And so once I had that basic system, I also started, you know, writing very specific things about, like, I've got like 1,000 reference documents now about exactly how enchanting works, exactly how sword fighting works, exactly how, you know, X, Y, and Z works. And so as I finished the first book and when I started writing the second book, and I was like, oh, this would actually make a little bit more sense. And I could like sort of just get a very firm framework for the rules of my world, it's coming easier now. Because it's like, I know I want to go from point A to point B, but I'm like, okay, well, let's just operate within the rules of the world and make it exciting. And so now there's less wondering, but there's a lot more like I have to check my references. Like, okay, so exactly how long did the spell take to cast? Exactly how long did whatever? So, I mean, that's basically it. It kind of organically is growing out of me more than anything else.
So it sounds like you're